Hello everybody, welcome back to the Yotso Tech Tracks YouTube channel. I wanted to share with you guys something I've been working on for the last couple of days on this Ram 1500 truck. This is an exhaust cutout. Basically it's a exhaust dump that goes between the catalytic converters and this muffler on this vehicle. I promised you guys a little update about this a while back, but because of current world conditions with the coronavirus and things that have been happening for me at work and with family, I didn't have too much free time recently, but here's another update for you guys to keep you tuned in. Let me give you the specs on this. Basically the Ram 1500 Hemi in the 4th generation Ram. It has a 3-inch exhaust pipe right after the front catalytic converter Y pipe. As you can see on this broken caliper, this used to be a dial caliper. If you guys can get a good view of this, it is a 3-inch pipe. So if you guys are looking for one of these exhaust system cutouts, you need a Y pipe with a 3-inch internal diameter, because this pipe is 3-inch OD outside diameter. Basically I went about 24 inches back from the muffler, in front of the muffler, and I took out a section of it. I believe it was about 12.5 inches I had to cut out. It's very easy on this vehicle because it is a full-size pickup truck and there's acres of room above, below, so you can get an angle grinder in here. I cut off pretty much 99% of it with the angle grinder, and just a tiny little bit I couldn't reach with a hacksaw. Cleaned up the edges with a little file, and they slip right on, and 2 band clamps are holding it together. Now this is not the finished version. This is just something I did on the free time, because the final version of this, first of all, I'm not too crazy about these type of valves because they do fail quite frequently. It doesn't matter what brands you go with. I much prefer something with a guillotine style flap that's kind of like it's actually a guillotine flap because it works the same way as an old-fashioned guillotine. Or they have what is called a vacuum actuated, which is something I'm going to go with probably. However, right now, again, because of coronavirus, I can't get my hands on a lot of these parts. They do have back orders and they are not available, and there's not much I can do about that. Basically, this one is a cheapie from Amazon. I think it was about $40–50. Again, when they're on sale, keep your eyes open, guys, and these things are pretty cheap for what they are, and if they last a year, 2 years, that's pretty much all you can expect, because they do have a very harsh life. As you can imagine, the exhaust gets extremely hot, even though there's a space between the actual body of this cutout and this little electric motor. The heat does transfer through the parts eventually and fries this motor. And if you can see or not, this bushing is a good idea to lubricate these once in a while, even though it has to be pretty frequent to make these things last long, because if you leave them in one certain position and you don't touch it, it is going to seize up on you. Like anything, there's heat cycles here, and there's extreme temperature differences between overnight temperatures and maximum operating temperatures for this exhaust system, so parts do tend to seize up and wear out, and when that happens, these things are pretty much garbage. You can rebuild them. Some of these parts are common enough that you can buy replacement motors for them, replacement bushings for them. However, the cost of those is sometimes not feasible, or if something is on back order, again, it is just cheaper to go with something that's good quality. And make sure you lubricate it once in a while and cycle this valve open and closed maybe once or twice a week, just to be sure that it's not seized in one position. So going from the front, I'm going to take this GoPro camera as much as you can to see inside. Again, this truck is a crew cab and a short bed. However, it does have a long enough wheelbase where there is acres of room to put this exhaust valve right into. You want to make sure it is a couple of feet back behind the collector in the front, the Y pipe, which is coming from both banks of the engine, because scavenging in the exhaust system works where one exhaust pulse is going to pull the next one, and if you leave a couple of feet, that is going to definitely help with your exhaust scavenging. If you were to put this pipe right in the front where the 2 banks come together, there could be some issues with exhaust velocity scavenging, because you want one pulse from the exhaust when the air rushes through the exhaust, it's going to pull the next one. So there's plenty of videos, plenty of information on the internet about this kind of a theory. However, take my word for it. If you give a couple of feedback after the left and the right exhaust banks join, you're going to have no issues with this. One of the issues, well, let me go from the beginning. One of the reasons I've gone with this type of in-exhaust valve is because I don't want a permanent loud exhaust. I've had vehicles in the past where I had MagnaFlow exhausts, Flowmaster exhausts, you name it, and they are great. However, the drone, the noise does get a little bit annoying after a while, especially such as in my case, I'm using this vehicle as a family vehicle, as a trailer towing vehicle, and there's quite a bit of a noise difference between having a nice exhaust that the vehicle doesn't get lugged around driving day to day, and once you attach a trailer, you're going to cause a lot of engine load, and the drone is something that's going to be very unforgiving. If you have to drive these things for hours and hours on the highway, going to campsites and places that you want to visit with the family, this is something, if you have young kids and if you do want a little bit louder exhaust, this is a very nice solution. Basically, you can make it factory, because when this valve closes, basically there's no escape. The exhaust must travel through the factory system, and it's super quiet. Mopar, Chrysler, Stellantis, whatever you want to call them, they worked very hard on these vehicles. These are very, very, very quiet vehicles with the factory exhaust on them. These things are very good quality. They last a very long time, even though you can see the surface rust on them. They are aluminized steel. They're not stainless steel by any means. However, they last a very long time, and the sound quality is very, very muted for well, because not many people want a loud exhaust. However, if you do want to open up the exhaust a little bit to hear that V8 sound, this is something that you guys can look into, because it is adjustable. You can make it completely open for any and all kinds of noises that you want to hear. You can close it to make it completely quiet, or anywhere between them. Right now this thing is wired. It's just a little 12-volt motor here, and there's a gear reduction inside. I believe it's a tiny planetary gear reduction, so this little tiny motor can have a little bit of oomph to open up this valve, even if it gets a little bit stuck. So what you do is basically you hold the switch one way or the other way. One way you open it up, and when it stops, it doesn't go any further. It basically goes 90 degrees like a throttle body. And if you want to close it, you just hold the switch the opposite way, and when you close it up, it's going to close until its maximum travel. And you can see here, this little flap, it's going to hit this little lip, and it's going to do the same on the opposite side, but inside out, and it's going to close the exhaust completely. I'll give you guys a demonstration of that if you want to see. It's nothing dramatic, nothing special, but the way I wired it up. Basically, again, from previous videos, this is my auxiliary battery. It's at 12.1 volts right now. This truck has been sitting here for a while, and my little valve electronic switch is here right now. As you guys can see, it's closed, and let me open it up. I can hear from my ears the change of sound when the motor works and bottoms out, which it just did. This is maximum flow. If you guys are wondering, this is a 2.5-inch valve on a 3-inch pipe. Again, this is all I can get my hands on in the time being, because there are back orders on these parts, and it doesn't really matter because I'm not actually restricting the exhaust from 3 inches to 2.5. That would be a bad thing. The straight through part from the factory is still completely open, so this is just for sound quality and actually for flow quality. However, I don't think it's going to cause too many issues if I'm only going with a 2.5-inch valve instead of a 3-inch, which is going to be the size of the exhaust ahead of it, because as I said, this part is still open, and this valve is just for sound quality. I don't want to start the truck up right now because this GoPro I tried, and it's not going to pick up the sound very well. It is actually going to basically lose all sound quality. You won't be able to hear what I'm saying, but there are plenty of videos out there what these Hemi engines sound like with these exhaust valves. And as I said a couple of minutes ago, this is not finished yet. I have a part that's coming, which is basically a turn down that's going to have a flange and an adjustable angle, which is going to angle this pipe straight parallel along with this one. and I'm going to put a small resonator here, because I noticed that without the resonator, this truck does have quite a loud noise, and even though I do want to open up the exhaust, not to the point where it is right now. So the final version of this, in the next video, there's going to be another little extension here that's going to make this pipe parallel. I'm going to put roughly a 1 foot long resonator here, and I'm probably going to make a band clamp around the factory exhaust, and it's going to come, if you can imagine, straight here and dump somewhere ahead of the axle in the rear. So that's going to be the final version of this exhaust that I'm working on. I hope you guys enjoyed this, gives you guys some idea about some alternatives to aftermarket exhausts, such as a catback exhaust. There's nothing wrong with those. However, as I mentioned, in my situation where I have kids, I have 2 small children in the car, and when we do go camping, they do, at least one of them, maybe 2 at the same time, fall asleep in their baby chairs. So if I would have an exhaust that's completely loud all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it is pretty much a no good for me in my situation. So hope you guys like these videos, gives you guys some ideas about your trucks, modifications you can come up with. And once again, the reason I like these mods is because I can close it up for complete silence, or I can open it up as loud as I want to. If and when I drive alone, going to work, going out of town, I want to let the engine stretch its legs a little bit. It does have that nice burble. Again, this engine is no different from modern V8s. It is a cross-plane V8, so you do have that burble because the exhaust firing order is such that you have on one bank 4 cylinders, you have the other bank 4 cylinders, but the firing goes left, right, left, left, right, left, right, right. So it always alternates, and that gives this engine a very low burble and that big V8 sound that most people are looking for. So that's one of the reasons I did get this Hemi truck. These Hemis do sound very nice. They're very simple engines to work on. They're very simple engines to maintain and to keep running. And since it does have a nice V8 engine, why not let it sound nice once in a while when you're in the mood for it. So thanks guys for watching. I hope this thing helps you guys out in your modifications, in your truck videos, and your future projects. Let me know if you guys like these videos. I'll try to make more of them, give you guys some insight about what you can do on your free time. This modification isn't that expensive, about 40-50 bucks for this cutout. They do go up from there. Some of the more expensive ones I saw were about $200-300, but that's a little bit ridiculous because all of them do fail, because again, they're in a very harsh environment, and there's no reason to get the most expensive one you can afford, because no matter what, they're going to fail. So every couple of years, if you can replace these out for not too expensive money, it's not going to be a big issue. This pipe, this 3-inch Y pipe basically, was I believe around $50, $60, $70. I can't remember that. I got this a long time ago. And these clamps were maybe $10 each. Basically, these are band clamps. I believe they're called butt joint clamps. They are stainless steel. This is again temporary, because most likely when I get this pipe, I'm going to clog this a little bit this way, because I don't want it to hang very low. So I'm going to clog it up, and because my flange is going to be adjustable on this side, I can pretty much stay below the lowest part of the frame. You never want these things to hang low, because anytime you take them anywhere off-road a little bit, a branch or log can knock these things down, and then you're in trouble in the middle of nowhere. So thanks guys for watching, and I hope you guys enjoy these videos. I'll see you next time on the Yotso Tech Tracks YouTube channel. Bye bye.